So I recently updated to the iPhone 13 Pro, coming from an iPhone 10R, which we know is a 3-year-old phone at this point. Having the phone for a month now, I thought it was a great time to go over all the things that I noticed about it, the things I like about it, and the things that I don't quite like about it. Spoiler alert, there's nothing that I don't like about this phone. It's amazing. Starting off right out of the box, the first thing I noticed when unboxing this thing is the design. The design of this phone is by far my favorite design of an iPhone so far. I really was a lover of the iPhone 4 design with the squared sides. I just thought it was a really cool, solid looking phone, and I haven't been as big of a fan of the rounded edges on the phones recently, mostly because they don't look great and they're also not comfortable. They're very slippery in the hand, so the squared edges are a welcomed return from me. And talking about the design of this phone, it is absolutely stunning. Every corner, every angle of this phone has seemed to be thought out by Apple. When I was doing this video, I just didn't want to stop taking B-roll of the back of this phone because it is just genuinely that beautiful. The only issue that I have with phones that are this nice is I don't want to put a case on them, which means I have to put a case on them, because if I don't, I'm going to end up ruining the thing that I think is so cool. And so for the first time, I bought an Apple branded iPhone case, which I got this purple case, which is more of like a wine red color. It's really beautiful, and I think it works really well with the space gray color that I got on the iPhone. The iPhone 13 Pro also is a heavier phone, so if you do like the weight of your iPhone 10 or whatever phone you have that's not the 13, know that the 13 Pro especially is heavier than any other phone I've owned before. That might be due to the fact that it has surgical grade stainless steel sidings, whatever that means, a bigger camera bump, like way bigger, and a bigger battery, all of which we'll talk about in more detail in a minute here. The other great thing about the iPhone 13 Pro is it has a ceramic shield screen, which Apple claims that is stronger than any glass screen on any phone right now. And the other thing about the screen is the brightness. The brightness on the iPhone 13 Pro allows for up to 1,000 nits for normal content and up to 1,200 nits for HDR content. Compare that with the 625 nits overall total for the iPhone 10R, and you can see why the brightness increase has been such a great deal for me. I feel like I should let my girlfriend do this part of the video because she's been using this so much for all of her social media posts, for basically anything that she's been doing. She's been asking if she can use my phone just because the camera is such an upgrade from what we're used to. The iPhone 13 Pro comes with a wide-angle lens, a normal lens, and a macro lens, all of which you can access through the camera at any time. Coming from an iPhone XR, I didn't really know what to expect for the cameras. I personally have felt that cameras have been a gimmick upgrade over the past 3 years, but I guess when you take 3 years of gimmick upgrades, it actually becomes quite a good upgrade. Coming from the 10R, where it had a single camera on it, to the 13 Pro with 3 different cameras on it, there's 100% a difference, and it's actually very welcomed, and I've actually enjoyed the camera upgrade more than I thought I would. The other day, I was out taking pictures of my neighbors leaving their furniture out on the lawn. It was 11:30 at night, super dark, and I was actually able to grab some pictures of the stuff on the lawn using night mode, which I actually didn't know existed at the time. When I took the picture, it was a surprise to me. The picture turned out great, so good actually that I took a picture of a frog and sent it to my girlfriend too. I don't know why, but there's a picture of a frog for you. Now, the other 2 modes on this camera are the ultra wide and the macro. The ultra wide is actually fantastic. I used it with my girlfriend to vlog the other day, and it was amazing. I use it for a lot of my social media posts because I just think it gives a cooler depth of field and a cooler view of the subject over the normal camera, which I've been used to. The most gimmicky one, I think, is the macro lens, which, if you don't know, the macro lens basically just lets you take really up close pictures. And when I mean up close, I mean extremely up close. I could literally get the fibers of my clothing on camera, which is really cool to show people, but it doesn't really have any application outside of showing people that you can do it, in my opinion. So it's cool, but not really something that I'm going to use every day. This phone also features the new cinematic mode, which is a video mode that basically face tracks people, gives them good depth of field, and then when you turn away from them, it refocuses to whatever subject it thinks is going to be the smartest thing to focus on, or you can manually control the cinematics and the focusing. And again, it is cool tech, but that's kind of where it ends for me. It feels very gimmicky. I'm not going to use cinematic mode, really, and I'm going to be curious to see what people do with this. The interesting thing to note about the iPhone 13 Pro 128 gig model, which is the entry model that I got, is it doesn't actually allow ProRes, which is Apple's 4K codec for their video. I don't know why. There's not really anything online about it, but just so you know, if you do get the entry-level 128 model, you're not going to have access to the 4K footage. You're going to be limited to 1080p. Now onto the battery. The battery is an insane upgrade. The battery is 4,352 milliamp hours versus the 2,942 on the iPhone XR. And with this battery, I haven't gone below 20% and gotten that pesky low battery warning yet. I've actually really never gone below 30%, and I'm a pretty heavy iPhone user. So I would say most people with this phone, at least in the beginning, are never gonna really reach that 20% mark. The iPhone 13 Pro also features ProMotion in its screens. ProMotion allows an iPhone to go anywhere from 10 Hz up to 120 Hz, and it does this to save battery depending on what context you're looking at on your phone. For example, if I'm browsing Reddit, I don't need my phone refreshing at 120 Hz. 10 Hz would do just fine to read the content on the screen, and it would also save my battery. The important thing to note is not all apps support ProMotion yet. App developers actually have to opt into their apps to support this, so not every app you're going to use is going to have it right away. This is something that I definitely notice as somebody who enjoys gaming and enjoys high refresh rate screens. I definitely noticed the 120 Hz difference. Most people would not notice this difference. However, if you do switch up to 120 Hz and then switch back down to a phone that does not have it, I would say it becomes more noticeable than switching just up to 120 Hz. In terms of computing power, the iPhone 13 Pro features an A15 Bionic, which is 3 generations ahead of the A12 Bionic that was in my previous phone, the iPhone XR. So far, I haven't found an area where this chip has not been able to handle what I'm throwing at it. I'm doing video editing, photos, vlogging, everything you can think of, and there hasn't really been any case where it hasn't been able to handle what I've thrown at it. The only issue that I will note is for some reason, and I don't know if this is an app thing or a hardware thing, sometimes some apps become non-responsive. For example, on the YouTube app, when I go to full screen it sometimes just nothing happens. The button animation happens when I tap the button, but the app won't full screen, and I cannot figure out why. I don't know if this is an iOS issue or an iPhone issue, but I just thought it was important to note that I am seeing some weirdness on the phone, but force closing the app and reopening it tends to fix it, so I'm thinking it's an iOS issue, not a hardware issue. So final thoughts, I've had this phone for a month now. I think it is a extremely welcomed upgrade coming from an iPhone 10. I think anybody who is at the 10 or below would be extremely happy with upgrading to the iPhone 13 Pro. And I have really no reason to tell you not to do it. It is amazing. The speed, the battery life, the screen, the brightness, everything is so much better about this phone. I'm really excited to see what y'all's thoughts are on the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 Pro. Do you have one? Did you upgrade? What do you think? Let me know. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.